If a QSR company is thinking about AI, the biggest thing that you want to ask is, who are you working with? Who are your partners? What is your architecture to allow this system to work? You don't want to go through this whole road and then figure out that you can't do it because of cost or the models. AI, I mean, it is everywhere. It's in every single vertical. QSR is, from what I understand it, is always adopted new technology, but I may have not been the leader in a lot of areas. The things that I think are really real versus noise is AI, computer vision, AI generative learning have been tested and market kind of approved across so many different verticals and with consumers. And so I think in QSR, what's really real is the one that are working with their consumers, the people that are working, buying their food and interacting their experience. So uh, chat bots, communication tools using drive-throughs or indoors, suggestions on what else to pair with, I think is really there. So that's that kind of customizing. I think the one that is slowly adopting in a lot of different areas, which is computer vision. But I would say noise is in AI for QSR. I would say the big areas is like LLMs are really still trying to break into a lot of scenes, and so I would say customized learning models and ways to interact with customers. I think is really on the digital side, not really in store. Yeah, so if I'm talking to an operator, there's really two or three big metrics in QSR from what we've seen, right? So it's how much does the food cost, right? How much are we wasting? How fast can we get it done? And then does it meet kind of our brand standard? I think in each of those areas, you can find AI. I would say, I'm an industrial engineer, so I kind of lean right towards like the operational things that can be improved. So speed of service, accuracy, how things are cooked, and how it can automate. And so I would say those are really a lot of the ways that the AI tools, either through production planning or forecasting or using vision to understand what's going on. I've even seen, I know this is not AI, but I've actually seen some cool technology around uh, does the bag weigh the right amount? And basing on kind of your entire portfolio of how much this things weigh, are you missing an item or not? I think that's just a cool topic to prevent that problem from happening so that it doesn't hit your brand. Yeah, so I think QSR struggles with the same thing that everyone does. I think when new technology comes out, I think there's a lot of hype, a lot of excitement around what can be done, is capable of, are very different things for us, and so that gap is really around. It can be done in the lab. It can be done in a very very large facility with a bunch of resources, but can it be done in an environment where you might not have the bandwidth that other stores with? You might have sites that are very rural and very remote, and putting in edge devices that are that big for a 100,000 square foot facility might not make sense for a QSR. So I think what's being delivered now is, I think there's a lot of conversation around cloud environments, how to decouple and make the video or data in as small as possible, maybe even metadata, and then do the computing level somewhere else, right? And so I think it's really interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of growth in QSR technology over the next couple of years, and that can come in many different ways. It's not just going to be AI. Examples of AI use cases that sound great, um, but don't pan out. I think all new technology goes through that kind of like bell curve where, everyone's excited. It kind of doesn't live up potentially, and then we kind of see a downward tick. The use cases I would say right now is probably voice, I would say. I think there were a lot of people that were really excited for like the chatbot experience or the ordering machines that would just use AI tools. I think what this is actually a benefit that the QSR companies have made is they're not going to roll out something that decreases their brand experience. I think we've seen AI adopted by a lot of companies, either for cost savings or, labor or something of that nature. And they don't really take into consideration the impact that it's going to make on their customers. I know you've ever called any type of call center and you get a robot right away. Man, that can be frustrating, especially if the experience isn't right and they don't really want to do that yet. And so I see that when it is figured out at a scale, it's going to go like wildfire because that is the technology that's really going to open a bunch of doors around upselling, around creation, around understanding really uniqueness on many different languages and experiences for their customers. We just aren't there exactly yet. Adding to that value that the customer does or experiences through the brands is a lot in their digital experiencing. So the personalization that goes in when you log onto their app or work with their digital menu boards when you're in an experience, you understand what you've already ordered, where other options are there, is there discounts that you can roll, is there promotions, things of that nature. And I think the addition of AI into that and machine learning has really advanced how impactful this is for the customer. An area that I think is really going to blow up, and we've seen it adopted from a few, is production planning, a better outlook of what's currently in your kind of prep area right now, and understanding how many drive-through customers are in the line, how much can you predict that those customers are going to have this experience, and trying to get ahead of speed of service and prep and all of that kind of stuff while also watching your waste. I think is it's a very interesting dynamic of working for optimization, but also making sure that the brand experience is the same way as their the voice situation I talked about. Yeah, I mean, if a QSR company is thinking about AI, the biggest thing that you want to ask is who are you working with, right? Who are your partners? Who's going to help you deliver this system? And really, what is your architecture to allow this system to work? It is awesome to understand like what's possible, what the use cases are, what the pain points are. I think those are things that are a contributing factor to using AI, but I think you really need to understand the infrastructure that's going to allow it, because you don't want to go through this whole road and then figure out that you can't do it because of cost or the models and things of that nature. That being said, figuring out your pain points and your understanding is really it's something that can be really helped by working with Telaid or if you have a connection at NVIDIA or one of your OEM partners. They can really help jump in and answer those questions because they have experience knowing which ones are going to pay for it, which ones are going to be valuable, and kind of building that with an outside party helps them be kind of have that third party perspective on what's going to be the next phase. The biggest red flags is if somebody says I can do it all and doesn't really talk about the challenges for doing that. That is a dead giveaway that they don't know what they're doing. Also, if you never heard the word training or customization, definitely something to look out for. Those are things that happen for everyone. Even if they have a model, they need to train it, and that takes time. So those would be the things I would watch out for. What actually matters about solving problems with AI? I'm going to flip it on its head a little bit. I think the thing is you need to, what we're learning is you need to start at the points of pain or the pain points of your company and understand if those are worth solving or not. I think that's the big difference, right? For technology, it can solve everything, but we want it to be value add to your business, either in savings or increasing of revenue. And so, what we try to do is we try to work with our customers to really validate how much of a problem this is. And then that usually helps unlock the AI use cases that then can solve the problem. So it's a little bit of a backwards approach on that question, but I think it's learned and it's an experience that we've figured out. So integration is a huge word, right? Integration for new technologies is the dream. It's the like the pinnacle of what you want. You want it all integrated. Uh, where we see is really we see kind of two scenarios happen. So the first is you want to get it all integrated initially so that you can like work with your IT team and you can do all that kind of stuff. And that usually is a pretty slow process because of technical debt and all of these kind of challenges. Or you go it on your own network, prove the technology, and then you have a long journey to get it adopted and deployed, right? And so I don't really think one or the other is better. I think you see a lot more frustration in the second when you've got your leadership excited about it and all that kind of stuff, and then it's just why isn't this working? So I would see hopefully a blend of those two would work, where you might be proving it on its own, but interacting with the teams, larger teams, to get it integrated. What we do as a way to hopefully help that journey is we like to do a workshop where we bring in not only whoever the owner of the project is, but also the supporting teams that make it happen. So if that's the operations teams running it, we bring in the marketing team and the IT team, right? Vice versa, all the different departments. Whoever is going to be touching or using or having a value off of this should be in the room initially. And so that they can hear the plan, they understand it, and they can start building it into their roadmaps. So how do you separate true AI solutions versus kind of like just kind of out there, right? It's just a phrase AI. I think the thing that I've always anchored off of is if something is giving you individual data points and it's up to you to make all the decisions off of them, it's really analytics. It's gathering analytics. If that analytics is being gathered by a company and then producing results and recommendations, or even if it got into the agentic way and making decisions for you on the fly, that's really where you go into AI, right? Because AI is a fancy word, right? But it's inferencing off of decisions at the edge or in a cloud environment, depending on which one you need and the speed of decisions. So deployments is when we're taking the technology and going across. The biggest impact would be people don't know what they're doing, why they're doing it. You could have issues with, procurement. You can have issues with a ton of things. Where it really breaks down is before deployment. It's in the decision of the deployment is where we see most projects fail. So you've proven it, like I spoke of before, you proved it on its own network, privatized, just within your vertical, and it works and everybody loves it. Now you start interacting with other people, and then it starts to go down. You start to get the kind of politics that come through, and then all of a sudden, the project doesn't move forward. So how we stop that is we do those workshops. We bring in people early. We talk about it. We make sure that the project has ROI or just value to solve, right? ROI is a fancy word, it can be manipulated, but uh, value, like, is it worth solving it? Is it going to impact your customers with a value? Is it going to increase your brand loyalty? Is it going to save money at the bottom line or increase in sales? Failures of the technology should have been proved out earlier in the process. Metrics, proper baselines, understanding what's actually going on, doing a real analysis of the product, and not just in a lab environment. I think most people know how to take a product through and test it out. Projects, like I said, don't fail typically because you've gone through all of those, the technology works, and then you just put it on something bigger and it doesn't work. That doesn't usually happen. It's usually the communication between the teams, the execution. But I think the biggest failure point is that we're doing technology without understanding the value or the delivery of that for the people using it. And I think that is really where it breaks down. You got to figure out what the project is going to do for the business and then make sure you communicate to the people that are using it. I think as a closing statement to any technology deployment, it is amazing to go through every review and make sure everyone signs off on it. But if you don't do that change management at the base level with the employees that are going to be using it, it's just never going to work. So, there's all this stuff that we can do, but we need adoption and that kind of change management in the stores itself with the management level, kind of adopting it to really have the value and ROI met.